Okay.
Cool.
We said we would start around 7, but
Yep.
I had some people who said that they wanted to join. I
Hmm.
hope that they are all here. If you're here, welcome, I guess. Um, Maybe you can explain a bit about what you're gonna tell us, what you're
Yeah.
gonna, yeah,
Yeah, totally. I'm just going to see if I can turn my phone up anymore, actually. Yes,
yeah.
I can. Excellent. So, it was from the post. I just knocked my larynx over, which is a perfectly normal thing to say. Um, from the post you did the other day about the
The
whistle
whistle
notes.
notes.
Yeah, which with being like 11 months on testosterone, I was just like, there's so many things here that I want to like just explore. Um, so yeah, we had a kind of quick explore the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
And sort of had a little chat about it, and um, yeah, I was kind of fascinated because there's not much research out about whistle tones in general at the
Mm.
moment, and my understanding of what the kind of understanding is of it at the moment is that it's kind of like falsetto, but like using less of the vocal folds. So
Yes.
let me get my little tools. So the vocal folds are kind of like they're muscles with then like layers of ligaments and things on top. So when we're in modal, which is what we usually speak in, or like a lot of contemporary artists use for power and like belting and stuff like that.
Mm.
We've got the muscle, so which we represented by the black one here, and the ligaments are both engaged, and we're stretching them, and they're vibrating to create sound. And then when we go into falsetto, the muscle is no longer engaged; it's just the top
Yeah.
layers.
So
And
for the viewers, modal is when we're speaking like this and
yeah,
you use kind of like your chest. And falsetto is like that
yeah,
when you go really high.
yeah,
And then the whistle that we're talking about is I wasn't able to do it before, but now because my vocal cords are tightening, I think they know more about this than me. Is when I do, and I'm not actually singing a note. Well, I am singing a note, but not on purpose. It's really like whistling, like
yeah.
with your vocal cords.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the term whistle comes from the fact that there's this particular tone that it sounds like a whistle.
yeah,
But yeah, whistling is produced just through the air coming through the resonance space being smaller.
mm,
Um, whereas whistle tone or whistle register, however you want to call it, is yeah, the vocal folds are vibrating. So I've had a theory for a little while that so something that Mariah Carey does when she does whistle is she puts her hand here.
yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like she's sort of like trying to like put it in her ear or something to it. But I did a little look at some videos a while ago, and I think she's actually putting it here, which is
Mm,
basically where if you put your hands here and then open and close your jaw, you can feel the jaw um moving. You can feel
yeah,
the little ball kind of
it's like your
putting in.
jaw hinge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that possibly what she's doing when she does that is actually monitoring her jaw size, because I think my theory is potentially that whistle is it's very very thin layers of the vocal folds, but then I also think there's something about the resonance space that is irrelevant as well, which is interesting because I thought that would mean that you can't articulate
yeah.
whilst in whistle, but you did.
I kind of did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was like one of the first things I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
yeah,
So yeah, and yeah, there's like a with modal, just to go back to modal and falsetto, we sort of there's a crossover of the range as well. So like yes, modal is kind of generally a little bit lower, and
mm,
falsetto is a bit higher, but there's a crossover. So this is what we perceive often. Often it's referred to as the break or the jump or the crack. I call it the
yeah,
gear change because makes more sense and
yeah.
to actually what's happening. So when we're
I'll
when
show you. It's
I was
like
gonna
this.
say
And
there,
that switch, I didn't used to have that before starting testosterone. I could just do all the way to the highest note that I had, and I didn't have like the little flip in the middle. And I am able to kind of modify where I flip it, so I can go into like that falsetto earlier.
Yeah.
But I can't, well, not right now. I can't do from low to high without you having that really harsh flip. But I
Yeah.
know that with a lot of training, you can get back to that, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you before you started testosterone, you would have had it. It just maybe wouldn't have been as obvious. And like,
Yeah.
because like, so how long have you been singing? When did you start singing?
Whenever, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I never really had vocal lessons, only when I was like maybe 17 to 21 when I did like my music school. But main thing that I was doing,
the time.
I wasn't really doing vocals at that school. I was doing songwriting and music production. So I had like a few little lessons, but I never really learned the proper ways. I just kind of was friends with a lot of singers who helped me with that. Yeah.
But even that, like just a lot of it with singing, is there is, people just pick up things. And so it's likely that, the type of music that you were singing and who you were sort of around, that gear change just, it just wasn't as obvious to you, kind of thing. So if I do this, like I can make it so that you can hear it. So, like that wasn't as, I can make it jump more than that usually, but like it, so that smoothing over that gear change is some people refer to it as the classical terminology for it is the do you know what? I see it written down all the time and my brain is like, I don't know how to say this because I just don't say it. Passaggio.
I've never heard that before in my
life. So it's that's kind of like,
I believe you,
technical term, if you like, the classical and like musical theatre kind of technical term for it. So yeah, and it's basically, should I get my larynx that I not my larynx out? This is my larynx that was 3D printed for me by my friend Ashley, who she's very cool. So this is like basically this here, like this.
Yeah.
So this bit is the cricoid. Oh my gosh, my brain is like, there's a word.
That the part,
basically like, the Adam's apple.
Yeah.
Referred to colloquially. And then if I do this, you can see the vocal folds in there and they vibrate together like this to create sound. So if I then do this that way, the vocal folds are stretching here. So this is how we get the voice to go higher. So the way to go higher is a faster vibration. So they stretch and they get a bit thinner. And like if you've got like an elastic band or something, you can do this if you
or with a guitar string, if you put it like higher, you make it shorter or more tight. And then it's higher.
So but then there's a limit, right? So what happens then is in order to be able to go faster is oh my gosh, I did not fix my larynx before this. It's just coming out.
So what we're talking about now is the part in modal, right? So the part where you go and then there's the part where you go and that switch. That switch when you can't go any higher.
The muscle, that's like the muscle dropping out. So so the reason that we often get like a sudden jump is because we're stretched and then we let go of the muscle, so it goes a lot faster very suddenly. And that the smoothing across the passaggio, let's pretend I've said it correctly, is basically getting the coordination of the movement back to here as well as the muscling disengaging.
And that has to go in like a millisecond because you're already at that note.
Exactly. And you want to keep the vocal folds vibrating at the speed that you want. And then when we get up to whistle, so we're stretched here, and like my understanding is that it's there's quite a few different layers. It's just less layers. Again, it was once described to me like a trifle. You've got like the bass, and then you've got I don't know trifles very well, but I should, but like jelly and like cream and like, you know, all, I mean, if, you know,
I don't know, I'm Dutch, so I've only seen trifles on TV. I don't even know
yeah,
what's
I was
in
going to
there.
say,
Yeah.
if we're doing the one from Friends, then like,
Yeah.
I mean, that had like what, beef in it
Exactly.
or something. But like, but the point is that there's all these different layers and they all kind of have their own viscosity and they all kind of move slightly differently. So that's basically, and as a child, we don't have as many layers. So
Okay.
as we get older, those layers grow. And then, yeah, we've got more maneuverability. But this is why children's voices are like, they can just like slam their vocal cords together and make things really, really loud because that's what they got.
So that's why kids can scream louder, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we kind of we trade out like being able to just absolutely like rah for more like flexibility and maneuverability and stuff. So then and then I think, like I said, with whistle, I feel like there's a resonance space thing which is potentially to do with the jaw, the back of the jaw.
Yeah.
So the jaw kind of hinges like this. You have to pretend that this is the bottom jaw because my hand does not go that way.
Yeah.
So it like hinges, but then it gets to a point where it's like that's the most it can open, and then it will start to kind of close up at the back of the throat. So
and that's where the whistle is.
So this monitoring of it is like if you open your jaw to the way I sort of do it is like if I put my hand across there, it's like it feels like there's like a little dip, and then if you open your jaw to the point where it's like the dip is filled, that's like your optimal jaw opening.
Well, my jaw is a bit fucked, so let's see the other side. Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so that, like, that's, so then I don't know where, like, it is, but, like, if it's there or further, because then if you open up further, you're starting to, like, make the space at the back of the throat a bit smaller, which could contribute to making whistle easier,
the pitch.
Potentially.
Yeah. I think it's really difficult because my vocal cords are so trained to maintain the same pitch that I'm already like compensating for if I'm just trying to keep the same pitch automatically.
Yeah.
But I do, like last time you said it's like more difficult with your jaw shut. So if you do, I can't really maintain it with my jaw closing.
Yeah, you can just hear it kind of like just fade away there, can't you? Like, which I think was really interesting. And like just looking like the pitch that you're at there is like G6, I think.
That's the highest I can go, I think.
Yep. So that was the A6, maybe.
A6.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's very high.
Yeah. So yeah, but like what I can't remember if we did this or not, but so one of the things that I was interested in doing is can you do like slide down? So where
with the whistle.
Like with the whistle, and see
how low I can get.
Yeah.
And there's the
cool.
Pretty low.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Okay, so hang on. So that is really low, but also, how low do you think that was?
I think it was a E5.
It literally was.
It is. Absolute. Yes, bitch. Perfect bitch.
It was like E5, E flat 5.
That's crazy. I think I used to be able to do D5. In my normal, before I started testosterone, if I because I couldn't do the whistle note, but I could do like the just normal falsetto voice. I could go up to a D5. So it's very funny that now like one step up is where my whistle note register starts.
Totally. So and like I always say E's and B's, something happens around E's and B's.
Yeah.
There is something that happens around E's and B's, like E3, B3, E4, B4, E5, like all of them. There's little shifts that happen.
It's like a breaking point for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I often refer to E4 as the classical gear change and B4 as the contemporary gear change. So it's sort of like doing a classical thing. I would kind of
Oh,
yeah, that.
kind of like there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yep. And then the contemporary is kind of like somewhere.
Okay, let me
Okay,
try.
that was D. That was higher than I usually go. Yeah. So cool. No. So that was up to the G, right?
Okay.
Which is, and so basically octave 4 is where like there's so many options. Like there's so many things happening in octave 4. And octave 4 is, this is where you when you did the video, it was like where you were singing it previously,
like the Chapel Roan song is. Yeah.
So this is where the coordination of the stretching and everything is like the most important, and getting that. So that's what you're struggling with at the moment, because your voice is sort of growing and changing, right?
Yeah.
So that place, do you want to just try that again? Because that place where you got to, can you, if you keep going, if you can then keep going, see what happens when, can you go to the next note in falsetto, or do you jump
in my chest voice? Yeah. See how high I can go with my chest voice. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I think just one note higher. Yeah. I don't know, what pitch was that?
That was awesome. That was up to like the C5.
C5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So that was up to the C5. Okay.
Then I was able to do D6 before, like an octave higher.
Was it D? With your falsetto?
With my falsetto, yeah.
Yeah. So can you, if you go up again in your modal, but then switch it at some point to go to wherever.
Okay, so I go as high as I can go, and then switch to falsetto.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Cool.
Is that an octave higher?
So you jumped up to start with. So you went up to about the C5, and then you jumped up to the A5.
Okay. In whistle. Because I can't.
Yeah, I feel like that was whistle. Yeah. So can you how about coming in falsetto? Just doing falsetto.
Yeah. That's the
cool. So that
point.
So that right there, that was you went up to so you kind of came in around the G4, which is where you kind of initially went to the first time, right? That was like that's like the comfortable place to go to. And then it was basically the G5 A5 where it was like, okay, now something's shifting.
Now it's switched. Yeah.
So I feel like that's our like falsetto whistle change, right?
Yeah.
So can you do like, so we're like maybe if we do these 4 and see what happens.
I can't do it.
Cool. No, that's okay.
Exactly where the if I sing very softly, like, then maybe, but I can't. I can never use that like live or for a recording. But if I try to put like any more air, then it shoots right into whistle.
Okay, cool. Try and do it really softly.
I don't know if that's whistle or
this is what I was like wanting to like look at and be like, okay, is this whistle or is that? So that because so the thing with these higher pitches as well is because the vocal folds are thinner and vibrating faster. It's kind of this like really, it's almost like it feels counterintuitive because we don't need to actually put as much air in. It's more about getting the momentum and keeping the momentum going. And also our ears are tuned, like I was saying about like kids, being very loud. Like it's a survival mechanism. our ears
Yeah.
are tuned into particular frequencies. So there's particular frequencies that if we hit, it's like it's gonna just sound loud anyway.
Yeah.
So what about coming down from like where do you feel like you come in with whistle?
I don't know, like whistles, like I'm not really using whistle yet. So it's just
Yeah.
like I just do something, I tighten something and I just push air out and then it's a
Okay.
whistle but I don't
Cool.
know where it is in the
Yeah.
scale.
So
Yeah.
because what I'm wondering is if we can find like this crossover, the gear change, but like playing with the jaw size and see what you're doing. So if you
Yeah.
come down from there.
Yeah,
So yeah, so
that's and you hear that it goes
yeah,
like an octave almost
yes,
right away.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm feeling there is almost like it almost feels like what your voice is kind of wanting to do is almost go to modal, because
Yeah.
which makes sense because that's the gear change that you're used to doing. You know, you're used to
Exactly.
going from falsetto to
Oh,
modal
that's
and modal to falsetto.
interesting. Yeah. I'm kind of skipping an entire
Yeah,
step.
yeah,
Also,
because
I'm
you're like,
not
that's how
really
it
using
feels.
falsetto that much. Like I make hyperbob, right? I'm not doing like,
Yeah,
I'm using modal a lot more
yes,
in most of the stuff that I do. And if I use falsetto, it's just like at the end of a
yeah,
sentence that I make like the last note or something.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's also that I'm so used to using
yeah,
modal. Yeah.
yeah. And it's possible that whistle is kind of appearing now because so what I often find when I'm teaching is that like falsetto, when people sort of find it, they're like, oh my gosh, this feels like nothing. Like it's just, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like anything. So it's possible that maybe whistle feels more like something. So it's like, oh, I can feel something. I'm used to
Yeah.
feeling something when I'm singing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just if we just let's just find the optimal jaw size. If we do a but keeping the jaw. Yeah,
That was a switch. That
so
was
cool.
that was better.
That was great.
That's
Yeah. So
cool.
I feel like that you did go to falsetto. And because
I did.
and then when
But you couldn't hear any switch.
No, exactly. So but then when you got to that last bit, that was at the B4.
Yeah.
Which is like the contemporary, what I'd call the contemporary gear change. And so that was where, because what you're used to singing in is modal, and that was where your voice went, okay, this is where we change now. Like,
exactly.
So that was then I think the falsetto to modal gear change there, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Do you want to see that one?
Yeah.
On my little app. So let me hang on. I'm gonna want to do share screen on the Zoom so that we've got that as well. And
then you can just flip the camera on the live.
Flip the camera. Where is camera flip? I did work this out last time. There it is. Found it. Okay. Is that showing?
Okay, so I started around like D sharp, maybe.
You find like
in pitch.
Yeah. So we kind of D sharp, and then we sort of came down, and I reckon around here. No, wait, around here, which would make sense because that's the E5.
Yeah.
Is where you can see there's like a little something happened here, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the falsetto to modal, which you can see is a lot bigger, right? If I zoom in a bit more. So I feel like, so that we didn't hear like a switch, but here I think is where it did happen, which is, it was just smooth. And then when you got to this point, it was like, okay, now there's another change. Like, okay, how do I navigate that one as well?
A bigger switch.
Yeah. So I think that's what
the
happened.
upper line? Is that like a harmonics?
Yeah. So these are the overtones. So if I scroll out and I give us a line here. So if I bring in,
that's also interesting because when you see that I'm like starting to talk again, I think there's like a lot more overtones coming in, maybe because that's lower and there's more.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the pitch of where you were speaking is down at E3.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's like another octave down straight away. So we've got, let me just come up here and find that a bit. So these are kind of the harmonics. and the overtones. So you
Yeah.
can see that like there's a lot of strength in the second one, and then from here we get a bit more coming in.
Yeah.
On this one, and then we kind of then there's these much higher ones up here. So I would say that kind of ties in with my thoughts around Whistle, because I feel like this was Whistle, but we can see there's more up here, and then there's less in that upper section as we get to this point. And then,
that makes sense.
Although there's only a tiny, tiny bit of it to see, but like here, where's my line? There's my line. There's my line. There's my line. In the modal, you can see there's more strength here in the fourth one.
Exactly.
As well. I'm trying to do it on two screens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my brain. So there's more strength here in the fourth one. Yeah. Which is because we're coming into the modal sound there. How do I flip my camera back around? Hold on. That way. Yes. Okay. Cool. We're all learning here. It's fine. So yeah, I'm wondering, can you try, I'm just thinking, can you try doing, because you did like a line of that Chaperone song, didn't you? Yeah, but then you'd have to give me the key. Okay. I don't remember. Fuck, what is it? It's, You Can Kiss 100 Boys in Bars. What song is that again? Good Luck, Babe. And then if I just go to Good Luck, Babe, chords. Let's see. I think it's in G. Nope, that's a G minor. G major. Yeah. You can kiss 100 boys in bars. I can do it pretty good now. When I did it last time, it's also, if my voice is like more tired, then I can't do it anymore. Yeah. But I can't. You want me to do it in Whistle? Yeah, give it a go in Whistle. So that that bit, like that's like that gear change between what is probably between modal falsetto and Whistle, right? Yeah, because that's probably too low to do in Whistle. Yeah, so exactly. You can also hear that like in my where I'm like switching. You hear like a lot of harmonics. It's like I'm like a kettle. Like there's multiple notes. Yeah. So that's F sharp 5. Mm-hmm. For that one, if you're up there. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So take the B off. Actually, like so see how you do this. So I love this exercise. Some people hate it, but just doing just the vowels, so it'd be like ooh, okay. That's difficult because I'm so used to like pronouncing it super. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So you can hear how there's that the squeak as you kind of go into it. But that's that's the same that people get when they're first exploring the modal to falsetto gear change kind of thing. Is there's these things of like, oh, how do I sit on that one, or like so yeah. I feel like you can kiss 100, you can kiss 100 boys in bars, you can kiss like what if you try and just keep it there. I can't like. I feel like I can't do that note with my mouth open. Okay. So the Whistle one. Maybe if I just do it. Do you want me to do it in Whistle? Yeah, give it a go in Whistle. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I have to find it in falsetto. Yeah, nice, cool. Yeah, so like it's so like it's there. But and so that it's that would be that just that coordination. So I think like, and I feel like I was thinking about this the other day as well, and I think like part of it because one of the things that I often say is that a voice that is influenced by testosterone can do everything that a voice influenced by estrogen can do and more. And I honestly do feel that a lot of what stops a lot of people
Mm,
is just societal, you know, ingrained
definitely.
messages, like and like
Yeah,
like
and
and
also it takes a bit more warming up, I
yeah,
feel like,
it
because
does take a little bit more.
yeah, I have lost like a little bit of range already, of course. I don't think that you can go as high, maybe, um, because like it's just like the chords like tighten, right? So you're gonna lose some of it. But
But
I feel like I
I
could still belt pretty high,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's
you
a
got
lot
up
more
to the
scary.
C earlier, you know, up to C5.
Mhm.
Do you know where could you go up to in modal before? Do you know?
Uh, I like really, really high. Um, let's see. Let's listen to this for 1 second. Wait. Um, it's not a, but yeah, I can't do it now. But in the end, it's not about the story. I was belting all of
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah. So that's the C5. Yeah,
yeah,
which you did get up to earlier in modal.
I did.
Yeah,
To in modal.
yeah,
That's crazy. And I feel like that's such a like every moment can be different, right? Like
yes, yeah,
I truly thought that I could not do that anymore.
yeah. No,
But I feel like it's also the if I think it's like a mental block as well because I used to be able to sing that and it I can still do it, but it sounds really different because my
yes,
voice is just
yeah.
it's not only the pitch that changes, right? It's also like your like yeah, four months is that in
The
English
performance
as
in your
well? Yeah.
tone.
That
Yeah,
also
absolutely. And
changes.
because the resonance changes and everything. And yeah,
Yeah.
so and the thing, so because your instrument is growing, it's like what you're used to feeling is
Hmm.
changing. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, if like
It's in a different space.
the way that used to feel,
Yeah.
you can still do
And
that, but it's going
also
to feel
I think
different.
because now I went up to the C and that was like the highest that I could go, right?
Yeah.
But that this was a song that I released. I'm not releasing music where I sing at like the top of
Yes.
my range.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
probably
This was like,
before
yeah,
I could go still maybe
a little bit
3
further.
or
Yeah.
5 steps higher
Yeah.
in
Totally.
modal, but I just didn't use that because that's a lot to do
Yes.
live
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah. So it's getting that stretch there
Mm,
is what you previously like it was easier
yeah.
and now the muscle is like getting bigger.
Yeah. Could
Right,
you maybe
so
like explain like for dummies what happens when you take testosterone? Like what happens to your vocal cords? Why is my voice low now?
yeah, so I am definitely not like an expert in this area. There are people out there that have like got much more like
Mm,
straight there information, but the basically the muscle is getting bigger. So the vocal folds themselves are a muscle
mm,
with layers on top, as I said earlier, and they vibrate together like this to create sound. So and they're attached at one end like this.
At the back or at the front?
The front. That's the
Okay.
front. So that's the front there.
Hmm.
And then they vibrate
Yeah.
like this. Okay. So there's a lot of muscles that go into making everything move, and the breath is part of it as well. And then when we are going higher and we're getting this tilt, there's muscles that run here that
Yeah.
are the ones that help stretching it. So if you
Yeah.
think it's like the weight that they're lifting is getting more.
So then it's harder to go
Yeah.
up because you have to work harder to go up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen this. I saw this years ago. Was like bodybuilders doing ballet.
No.
Right. Okay. So bodybuilders and ballet dancers both really, really, really strong.
Mm.
Okay, but like in very different ways. Okay.
Yeah.
Because bodybuilders, you know, they've got physical muscle, and
Yeah.
ballerinas have to be, you know, they have to be able to lift people in the air and all of that.
Yeah.
So they have to be really strong as well. But it's like they've trained their muscles in a different way. So yeah, it was years ago. I remember it was I feel like it was like something, I don't know if it was the Try Guys or something like that, but
Hmm.
they got like some bodybuilders to try ballet, and it's like their muscles just literally because they've trained to do different things, their muscles, they can't
do it. They can't
get
just
their
lift
arm in
someone.
the right position. You know, they do look awkward, but that's because that's you know, they're not trained to do that. But like, it's kind of, you know, that's like an extreme example, you know, but it's like their muscles are much bigger.
Yeah.
And although they've got the same strength as each other potentially, it's not in the same way. So, I'd say that's an extreme example, and that's not quite what is happening with the voice sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's kind of like that, you know. So when, you know, when people who go through, you know, testosterone puberty as teenagers, we know there is a lot of stigma associated with the voice cracking. It's literally just the voice is growing very quickly, and you have, you know, for the whole of your life up until then, you have learned how much breath support, how much muscle engagement and everything is needed to get your voice to do this thing. And then it's like, haha, no,
never mind.
That is wrong.
And that's
now.
also then why because I really thought I was going to have a lot of voice cracks, but I've only experienced voice cracks when I'm like really worked up and I start to talk like higher, like here. And then sometimes my voice cracks, but not always. And I think that's probably because I have just very good support.
Yeah.
And I really know how to use my voice properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
my vocal cords are ballerina bodybuilders. That's fun. That's true. Yeah. I've got it all.
So like, yeah, like this is, and I think definitely having the singing background, you know, and like you said, before going on T, you never kind of noticed that gear change of modal falsetto necessarily. So that means you're navigating it really smoothly without thinking about it.
And also probably why it's harder now, because I didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of like belting and using more like a resonance in my voice when I talk, like when I want to sound more masculine, that I know that I could do like more this sound. And those are things that I've really trained, right? Like belting is something you can't just go out and just belt. That's something that I've learned over the years to have like the ab support, kind of like the breath support
breath
to be
support
able to
and everything.
To
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But that being said, it is also a primal sound. So it's basically calling voice, because it's this movement that we have. Oh my gosh.
When it goes higher.
Yeah. In order, but sort of going higher whilst keeping the muscle engaged. We, again, like our ears are tuned, you know, to put certain things for survival. Like it's so in order to be heard, if you imagine like you're calling to somebody in a different room, or like you know, see somebody like across the road, you know, or anything, you will raise the pitch. You'll go, hey, like and put that effort in straight away. Like anybody.
But you won't go, hey. You'll go, hey. Like you do have the breath support, like the ab.
So that's basically, that's kind of the base of going towards, you know, the power in the higher modal and like belting and that sort of thing. So when you did it earlier, that's what you did, because you know what to do.
Exactly.
And I feel like, I can't remember where I started, like around the G maybe, like, because as well, if you're sort of starting lower, you're kind of setting you're making it easier for yourself to start with, you know. But like, okay, this is what the muscles are like, right? Okay, now let's move up.
Because that's the thing. If I start like, if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna belt and I'm gonna go up to like or something, then it's scary. Because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it or if it's gonna crack. And it's also I feel like it's not even scary that I feel like I'm gonna hurt my voice, but more that I'm just going to make a fool of myself because it's going to sound weird. And that's funny because I didn't really think I had those reservations. Like I teach people to sing sometimes. Like I've made a fool of myself a lot of times. Like I've posted videos where I'm recording vocals and I'm like failing. But still like, even if I'm by myself, then I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's going to sound good.
And I think that's really interesting as well. And like going on T is something that I'm hoping at some point I will be able to do as well. And I'm like fascinated by like what will happen for me as a trained singer and singing teacher and stuff as well. So, but like I think there's definitely societal like stuff just in our brains that is so deeply ingrained. Even if you have done that work of like exploring and you know stuff, it's like there's still stuff that can kind of just surprise you. That comes
it's like
up around that sort of thing.
I teach guitar and piano to like kids, and it's very funny because I told like the kids I was going on T, so my voice was going to change and I was going to maybe look a bit different. And I asked one of the like, I think he was 13 when I asked him, and I was like, "Oh, you're going through puberty. Like my voice is also going to change. What do you have any tips for me? Like you've gone through this. Like what's it going to be like?" And he said, when people sing happy birthday, you just mouth the words and you just pretend to sing, because if you sing, it's going to sound bad. And so that's how deep it goes. Like, if you're 13, you're already like, oh, I don't want to make a fool of myself trying to sing happy birthday.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's
that being
it was very
his,
funny,
like,
but it is also pretty
of what
sad.
the tip is. Yeah, definitely. It is because, and like, you know, I remember like I have one memory from my teenage years where one of my friends, you know, was talking and his voice just went, and like people laughed, and even at the time I was just like it's
not that funny, but okay.
He doesn't have control over that. Like that's you know, it's like what like, but it is absolutely, it's like a very ingrained thing, I think, and people, you know, make fun of it. And I think that,
and especially if you're fucking 28, like I'm 29 now. It's pretty embarrassing to be 29 and go through puberty, and well, not like that it's embarrassing to be on T. Like I'm very happy, but it is embarrassing to like have a little pube stash and have a voice that that's like flipping. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think
you also talk about maybe the difference, because you mentioned that a little bit like last time, because you said when you are like 12 and you have testosterone based puberty, you also like still grow, right? So there's some things that testosterone does, like I'm already fully grown, so my my plates are already fused or something, so I can't, maybe my feet will grow a tiny bit, they have. But I won't suddenly be I'm 5'9" now, I'm not going to be 6 foot, right? So you mentioned like my voice is changing, but there is like a difference in when if I would have started this puberty at 12, stuff would have still grown more.
And again, this is like, you know, there's people that have got a lot more information about this than me, but like my just like a basic overview that I sort of have is like, there's some things are growing and some things aren't, and because there's certain things that have already kind of solidified, and there is a word, and my brain is just like not remembering it right now, where like as we get older, the voice, so like if you think of like a much older person who maybe hasn't done much with it, like they're not a singer or anything, like their voices are like often they can often be quite frail, because I think it's atrophy. It's the vocal folds will start to atrophy. So kind of like any other muscle, you know, it's like somebody who's danced since they were 3 and they've danced all through their life, at age 80 they can still do splits and everything.
It's like it's use it, lose it.
Yes.
If you don't use it, use it. And also like if you've already, like if you learn to ride a bike at like 4, then you can always ride a bike. So it's kind of, you know, like with the dance thing, a perfect example for me, because I did dance from age 3, and then as an adult, like I probably stopped dance years ago now, but like as an adult, you know, I did dance in college, and like I was very, very heavily doing dance, and then I kind of stopped completely. I used to be able to just go straight into the splits, cannot do that now, probably couldn't even do it if I warmed up, kind of thing, you know, but I can still go further than most people probably could, kind of thing. So kind of that experience, because I stretched those muscles at the time they were growing. Basically. It's also kind of like muscle memory, maybe, that you know you've done it before, you kind of know how to get there in a sense.
Exactly.
We had a question. Delilah asked if I know him or her. It's they, them. If we know each other, or if you're just like a random follower. No, this kind of this started because I posted a video where I was doing whistle notes because I gained whistle notes because of starting testosterone. And they're a voice teacher, like a trans voice teacher. And they responded with, I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I can't just type it in one comment. So maybe I can explain it to you in a live or in a voice call. And we decided to do a live so that other people can also understand, because it's a very interesting topic. And I feel like a lot of people don't really know what's happening. Like, we know that our voice changes when we start T, but we don't really know why or what exactly is happening. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Someone says, I'm 9 months on T today. Congratulations. And I'm singing in a queer choir.
Yay!
That is great. I really want to join a choir. One of my main goals is that I want to sing in like a men's choir, because my grandpa, when I was growing up, he was doing men's choirs like kind of professionally. Awesome. And I really like the sound of a men's choir.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I'm just there now. Like, my voice has dropped enough that I could maybe join one, but I haven't found one where it's not all Christian music or so
yeah, maybe you'll have to start your own.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should start like a trans guy choir. That's a dream.
Yes, that would be so cool. That would be so cool. Like, yeah. So yeah, like because when we talked about it before, it's sort of like there is a understanding of or something that's sometimes referred to as like the T voice kind of thing. Which is I think it's a combination of the fact that some things are growing and some things aren't growing. So it's like and that, like, I've seen other people who know more about this than me kind of thing talking about ways to make it so that it doesn't sound like that and stuff, and that's to do with like the resonance and the breath support that you're giving and things. I
think it's also really a combination with the T voice. That of course you don't have exactly the same throat, but even in cis guys, there's like a big range, right? But I think the T voice is mainly because I can also do it if I do this, if I talk where I would normally talk before, like if I have the same pitch where I would normally be, but my voice does sound lower, right? You do hear that there's more resonance to it. But when I try to talk higher, then you can hear that it kind of sounds a bit more nasal. And I think that's the T voice, where you've been talking for your entire life as a girl or like higher up. And then your voice changes, but you don't actually change how you talk. You just still try to keep it up here.
And I feel like that also kind of like ties in with again, like another theory of mine. I have no like research to back this up necessarily, other than just my experiences and stuff. But like my feeling is that again, this is a very ingrained in society thing, that people who are raised being viewed as women, I think actually pitch their voices up from a very, very young age anyway. Like listening back to recordings of my own, just speaking and stuff from like 10 years ago, I'm like, whoa, that is wild how it sounds, because I've actively like worked on like letting myself like lower my voice and like relax it. And like if I like, let me see. So if normally, like in the past, I'd probably kind of, this immediately sounds different to me. This sounds
definitely
like really feminine. And like, this is how I would teach. This is how I would talk when I would be teaching.
It's also interesting because what you're also doing is when you're going in, and I also do that, when you try to like emulate like the feminine voice, you smile. Because that feels really feminine. And that's also really fucked up, by the way.
It is completely.
Like, to be viewed as feminine is also to be nicer, I guess. Like, it's also what a lot of toxic masculinity that trans guys do at the beginning, where they're like, I want to pass so bad that I'm just gonna pretend I'm an awful cis guy who is just, and then they start to like also do like the dude bro voice and, don't use any filler words when you're talking. I would just be silent and not be like, oh yeah, I understand what you're saying. So also like your customer service voice is a lot higher for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So, being perceived as feminine is also being perceived as nice.
Totally. So I feel like, because I think that actually, because like I mean, you know, there's a whole thing in just like cis women, like business
Mm.
spaces, particularly, of like, stop pitching your voice up, like, you know,
Yeah.
and things like that. And I think, and it's like, it's picked up in like situations like that where there is, you know, a primarily masculine presence often. But I think it's bigger than that. It's much, much bigger. And actually, like, what we perceive as a feminine voice is, or that, like, yes, that is societally what is a feminine voice according to society. But if we're talking about physically, I think the norm that we expect is actually an altered state that almost every single person does that is raised as a girl, because it's just, they just do it.
So you're basically saying, like, if someone who is like a cis woman or assigned female at birth, if we just throw them in the woods and not interact with them for their entire life, and then you come back to them, they wouldn't do the customer service voice. They would probably be a lot lower.
Yes,
we have another question. Someone asks, do you have any tips on singing while your voice is deepening? Maybe you already talked about this. We didn't really talk about tips yet.
We can.
Do you have any tips on?
Yeah, so I would say keep singing through as your voice is changing. Be just kind of be aware of it. Like, my golden rule, kind of my only rule, is like, if it hurts, stop and try something different. Like that's the only thing, you know, like you, and you know, I say this with the caveat of, like, I'm an autistic ADHD person who struggles with interoception and things like that as well. So, like, you know, some people I know can feel worried that they're going to, like, oh, I'm going to do something that, and I'm not going to know. With your voice, like, check in at the time. Like, if you're doing something extreme, you will probably notice it, kind of thing. But even if you don't, check in at the time, check in how you feel after it and how you feel the next day, just to notice. But yeah, if you stop completely, it's like that use it or lose it thing, right? Because things are growing. So if you just stop completely, then it's like, they're just like, okay, we'll just stay like this.
Yeah.
But actually,
and it's also what you said before, like,
as they're
vocal
growing.
cords are, if you want to go higher, you have to, it's more like pressure on the muscles, right? It's like, they have to be stronger in a way to go higher.
So you don't want to be like, just wait.
It's
like, I'll just wait for them to grow, and then they finish growing. Okay, now let's see. And so it's like, okay, right. Suddenly it's like, I don't know, like, I don't do weights or anything, but it's like, you know, doing, you know, having like whatever, like one on the weight, and then suddenly being like, okay, I'm just going to go away for 2 months, and then coming back and being like, put 10 on.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like nothing. I feel I've, and it goes quicker than you think, because I normally I'm singing like all the time. And, when I had a car still, I was always full on belting in the car, kind of to practice. But then I think, 3 months or 6 months between that time, after starting testosterone, we got rid of the car because it was broken. We didn't really need it anymore. And I kind of, I was still singing because I sing like professionally. I had to do like, I had to teach people, and I had to do gigs and stuff, but I wasn't singing as much at home. And then I think in like a month or two, already I was losing, like, I couldn't go as high as I could. Yeah. And it's not even that I couldn't do it, but it just felt so different. The placement in your throat is so different, and it can go so fast. That's, it's really more the, keeping your confidence up for me than it's really that I can't do it anymore. Because if I really practice and I'm with someone and I just, I do it like a bunch of times, that I can still go up higher. Yeah. But if I just don't do it for a week, then I'm already afraid to go there again.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Are you guys on low dose or regular dose, and for how long? I'm 11 months on, well, at the beginning I did low dose, but that was just for 2 weeks or something. And I'm 11 months now on regular dose, but my levels were too low. So I just changed to injections for 3 months ago. So my levels should be good now, but I just checked my blood today, and they're gonna, hopefully, my levels will be good now. So 11 months on normal to low dose, I think. Yeah. And you're not on
No, I'm not at the moment.
Not yet.
Hopefully at some point in the future. But yeah, I was gonna say something. It's gone.
We were talking if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, going back to like advice and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the best things to do is SOVT exercises, which is semi-occluded vocal tract. So this can be through a straw, or one of my favorites is lip rolls.
Wait, I have the straw. I'm gonna get
straw?
it.
So yeah, lip rolls are great because you can kind of do them anywhere, and just doing them. I'm looking.
This is what you mean,
well, but I don't know where my straw is. Yeah,
yeah. And then the exercise that my vocal coach has me do is
with the water.
Put it in the water.
I have a straw and I can't find it.
And I have to like relax my cheeks and do. Like that. Yeah. So it's just, I think it's something to do with the water gets like, it's like, there's like more pressure. You have to put more pressure because there's the water, and then you can, I don't know. You can explain it better.
Yeah. I'm looking for my straw, and I'm like, I cannot find my straw anywhere, which is really irritating me. It's normally right here. Okay, I'm gonna stop looking for it. So the water gives you more resistance. But also I find with the water it's really nice because it's essentially giving you a visual of like what you're doing with your breath. So you can like play around with like making the bubbles different sizes and then keeping them at that size, or like getting them smaller or bigger kind of thing. But yeah, it's giving you more resistance. So you have to kind of find the balance better. You can't just like force it, because it's not just a forcing thing. It's a balancing act kind of thing. But yeah, straw SOVT into the water or just into the air kind of thing. And straw SOVT is great because I always say it's great because you can't change anything about the straw. It's a physical thing. Whereas with your lips, you can make little adjustments and things like that, right? But yeah, so with the straw, you want to be like relaxing, but making sure it's all the way in the mouth, and you're not like clamping it down, and also making sure it is completely sealed around the straw. Yeah.
And my coach also said that your cheeks have to like ripple kind of, because that means that they're like totally relaxed. So you have to do like. Okay, so that's what you need to do. What does it do? Why is that helpful?
So it's basically, it's helping you get complete vocal fold closure. So when the vocal folds are vibrating, making sound, particularly as they're growing, obviously, like where we get like cracks and things like that, it can be that they're not quite closing. We can end up with sort of like a slight opening, and they're kind of a bit like this. So that you don't. So they're using the straw SOVT. It helps you to get the back pressure balance right, to get them to close completely. So you've got subglottal pressure, which is the breath that we kind of think about when we talk about breathing for singing and stuff, which is the one coming up from the lungs. And then we have back pressure, which is what reflects back from the mouth. So if you go to say a p sound but hold the breath, you can feel all the air like pressing back. So that's the back pressure kind of like, and so that is what. So the subglottal pressure is helping open the vocal folds at the bottom, and then they open at the top, and then the back pressure comes down the top and it closes them again. So so we've got this exchange of air that is helping with both sides of this.
So you I have equalize the amount of air on both sides.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a theory that I developed a little while ago that it's maybe a little in depth. I'll try and do a little thing. So it's a seesaw basically, which again, my friend Ash, she printed this for me because very cool.
Cool.
Apparently my live is going to end. Oh my gosh.
What? Oh yeah, you have to do something.
What?
I had to do that too.
Oh my gosh. Drag the puzzle piece in place. Oh, we've detected inactivity. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't touch my screen.
Yeah.
What? So if you think of the subglottal pressure and the back pressure, like the two sides of a seesaw, right? Okay. So we're gonna say the subglottal pressure stays the same. These are my little stone friends. This is Myrtle. So this one stays the same because it's the one that we are kind of thinking about controlling, right? And then the back pressure, a little duck, sometimes is a teeny little thing, and sometimes is bigger than us.
Yeah.
So
if you keep your mouth closed and you try to do, then
that's like this.
Then it's bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's higher back pressure, right? So and then the opposite is like that's like the lowest back pressure, right? Okay. So my seesaw theory is basically that if you imagine, so this is the same size, if you've got somebody smaller on the other side, you can't like put full force in, but you've also got, you've got to kind of like control it so we're going at the right speed. So the other thing with this analogy is that the speed of the seesaw is the pitch. So the faster, right? Okay. Yeah. So you're wanting to keep it at if you're going you don't want to do that.
The same. Yeah.
You want it to be staying at the same speed consistently, right? Okay. So with an open space, it's like you're the one in control. You get to control this, right? But with so there's a lot more room for kind of like, I don't want to say error because it's not the right thing, but like there's a lot more room for kind of just like
if you just want to practice like stuff like that, then you can do it in a lot of different ways because you can just do or
there's like
gives
more
different back pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas when we've got a higher back pressure, like with the straw SVT,
with the straw,
so if you sort of think again, like now the person on the other end of our seesaw is like a lot bigger than us.
Yeah.
So actually, if we try and control this, it's not going to work. We actually have to let them take the lead, and actually kind of find that balance, so that they don't throw us off, kind of thing, right? Yeah. So with the straw SOVT, it's you're finding that balance. So if I'm really annoyed, I can't find my straw anywhere. Like it should be here. So if you do it, if you just go into the air, just blow through the straw into the air, and just like blow as much air as you can in whilst making a sound.
Kind of sounds like a kazoo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that like and you've got quite a wide straw there, which is what would be recommended for like as the voice is growing. But if this is an exercise that you can do to help just look, this is exercise to help going over the modal to falsetto gear change. And now I'm just like, I wonder if it would help with the falsetto to whistle.
That's interesting. I don't know if I can do a whistle through a straw. Let's see if I can.
Oh,
I can. Okay, so let's try what happens if I do. So you want me to do the whistle to low? So we're gonna go whistle to falsetto and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's not working. I still have to.
Yeah. Try it the other way. Start with falsetto.
I don't know if I can do that. If I can do that normally, just go from falsetto to whistle. Let's see if I can do it without the straw first. Okay.
Cool. Yep.
Wait, now I started in modal.
Yeah, that was modal.
I can't really do falsetto. Is really hard for me right now. I can't really find it. It sounds different. I think that's why it's hard, because when I do, then I can make the ooh sound with my mouth, and if I do, then it
I can. You're trying to like push. You're trying to put more like more volume into it. Yeah.
Okay, let's try. Yeah, it's
That was really cool though. Like, and
Yeah.
so, but I think with that, like, because that's quite a wide straw, I would say, if you get a thinner straw,
Yeah. So you
and
have
like,
like to push back more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or just put the straw in the
or
water.
yeah, just put the straw in the water. Yeah, that as
Yeah.
well. Um,
That is easier.
yeah,
Yeah, there's still like a
yeah.
big
There's a
switch
big jump.
between the whistle and the falsetto, but I don't
Yeah,
think that that's really. I think that's always gonna be there, the switch between the falsetto and the whistle, because I just can't go that high in the falsetto anymore.
potentially, but I
Yeah.
would also say potentially not, like,
Mm.
because you're sort of like your voice is still going, and like like the modal to falsetto gear change, right?
Yeah.
That can take a long time for people to close that gap, kind of thing, as well,
That's
right?
true. And I could also do that before when I had like
Yeah.
when I knew where the sounds were in my
Yes.
throat. So it's also really possible
Yeah.
that but I don't know if I can go high enough in my falsetto
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I can go like with modal, I can go high and then I can start lower with my falsetto.
Yep.
So I know that those overlap, but I don't know if the whistle and the falsetto actually, if I'm able to overlap
Yeah.
that, even if I don't do the switch. I don't know if there's a gap in there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, from what we were doing earlier, like I
Mhm.
think you are, because I think you came up to around the D5 E5 in falsetto, and
Okay.
you came down below that, I think, in the whistle. So I think
Oh,
you
so I
did
think that,
cross over.
yeah,
Or I can't remember. I think that, like, I feel like I've heard it, in separate bits. I feel like I've heard you like cross
do the crossover.
the
Yeah.
two.
I think it's also like, do I want to put all that work
Yeah.
because I'm never going to
Yeah.
use, like the whistle notes are more like a fun party trick,
Yes.
but I'm probably never going to use
Yeah.
whistle notes in my actual music, right? So, and I do know that I'm using a lot of modal and maybe some falsetto in my
Yeah.
music. So it's really, it is very necessary for me to like bridge that gap between
Yes.
them
Yeah.
that I don't
So
have the vocal.
with that, hit another theory of mine. Where's my larynx? There it is. Perfectly normal statements. So with the modal, like, and crossing that modal to falsetto gear change,
Yeah.
right? That obviously previously you were like, yeah, just did it sort of like
Easy.
instinctively,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And now you're having to think about it. So what you are having to do is train the muscles that are making this happen, right?
Yeah.
To carry a heavier load, if you like, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, this is a theory. I don't have very much to back it up other than just my experiences, but I have had success with doing this with people to help them. Is actually, so if you go to falsetto and then go up higher, you're doing this without the muscle weight.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting those muscles to do that movement.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if your whistle is actually helping you get that stretch without the weight of the actual vocal fold muscles.
Yeah.
So then when you come, so because like earlier, like, do you want to just?
So you're
try,
saying like if I practice the whistle
earlier.
more, then that also benefits my like the parts that I actually do use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. Like, because like you did earlier, like just do you want to just, because earlier you did go up to the modal, like like,
so belting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's the highest I can go.
Well, that was C5.
C5. That's crazy. I really thought that I'd lost that, but yeah, interesting. Okay, so that's C5.
So that was C5. So that is what you're doing there when you're used to doing that is you're getting that stretch.
Yeah. I'm also using a lot of twang because if I just do,
because that is,
I can't even do that without. I automatically add twang. So twang is when you kind of do like more like that. So you also tighten the
twang is, so twang is actually, so the epiglottis here. This closes over when we swallow. Okay, to protect. So it can close. It's sort of attached here.
Yeah.
So it can make the space here smaller. Twang is basically, that's what we're doing. We're making that space smaller. And so if you quack
Yeah.
like a duck, and you have to commit to the duck, that is what's happening. Quack, quack.
I always tell my students, like,
twang.
it's really like a witch, like a witchy voice.
Witchy voice is another one. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the other thing for this bit, though, I'm just interested, is a whine, or like a petulant child or something. I don't wanna. No. Just try doing that. Just go, no. I don't wanna.
Yeah.
And then that's what you want to enact as you're going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that went straight up to like the B flat, and that sounded like it was like getting there slightly easier. That was like a little.
Yeah, that's with the twang. I think twang makes the space smaller, so you have more of the back, like the airflow that we were talking about, like
the back pressure changing.
You can pressure more air without actually making the sound. So because you're putting more like you're kind of doing like that with your voice. So you're pushing air, but then you're closing your throat.
Yeah, you're kind of
so then you can
like you're sort of making the space above the vocal folds smaller kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the other thing as well about this, so this sits here, but the root of the tongue sits basically just above this, because the tongue, so the bit that we see is here, but the tongue curls around like this. The root is actually here.
Yeah.
So this sits, so the root of the tongue.
Yeah.
Is right here.
But your twang is not with your tongue, right? Twang is with the
twang is with this, but this is where everything's so close that for some people they can end up with tongue retention there. They can end up pushing back down with the tongue. So everyone's favorite exercise, all my students love this exercise, is is that to remove the tongue retention.
But I'm still using twang because I just really know how to do
absolutely.
twang.
So you're still using twang, and that's fine. But it's what sometimes can happen. So when you sort of said earlier, like if you don't put the twang in, like what can be happening there is tongue retention is pushing back down, making it harder. So it's kind of it. So
it's like with that exercise, you're sure that you're actually using twang and not your tongue to get the same effect. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Interesting. So that one, if anyone's like having that, like it, because again, and like all of this comes back to like this, subconscious things that society sort of makes us think is like people will, force their voice down or force their voice up, depending on how they are being perceived, how they want to be perceived, how they don't want to be perceived, how they are, what they're hiding from being perceived as. Like I know many trans femme people who, before coming out or even like before realizing they're trans, they push their voices down, in order to be like, no, I am,
kind of like when I had like my hyper femme stage to be like, no, I'm totally a girl. Like I'm fooling everyone. Like, look at my lipstick.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, and like the same, it's like, I think, back to, I mean, my before, like basically like before 2020, I used to do 1940 singing, and I was like fully like, when I realized I was non-binary, I only had one pair of trousers in my life.
Well, non-binary doesn't have a look. You can also
absolutely. But like, like I was that hyper, like into like, like I and like, the voice went with it and everything. And I think, I think that a lot of trans and non-binary people, do almost lean into the sex they were assigned at birth, the gender they were given at birth, before they come out or realize, because they're not wanting to be, singled out and bullied and what have you, completely understandably. And so then that can be the tension is coming in places that we don't want, both if it's lower or high, or a higher kind of pitch. and also like changing the resonance and stuff as well. Like the smiling that we were sort of talking about earlier, like that,
Yeah.
it's changing the resonance. It's making the resonance brighter.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's true.
Straight away. Because if I kind of do this, then the resonance is getting a lot brighter, right? And I'm keeping everything really small. Whereas if I kind of start letting my mouth just drop a little bit, the resonance is going to start getting like thingy,
that's what I at the beginning with my vocal coach, like before starting T, we were really working on, like, I wanted to kind of avoid the T voice, so I didn't want to have like that sound. So we were really working on like resonance, and I feel like for like before I realized I was trans, I had a higher voice, and then when finding out I was trans, before starting T, I already lowered my voice a lot without even any like medical intervention or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
definitely. I definitely can relate to that as well. Like like when I was in school, I was known for my high notes kind of thing. Like I trying to be cool because I was not cool, but like in my end of year like 11 thing, I sung an Evanescence song just to be like, I know who they are.
I can do that. Yeah.
I can do that. Like, and that, like, that was my thing, was like these high notes. And everybody praised me for them. So obviously I lent into them. And then, like I remember when I started exploring my lower range, I was like, I can't go below this. Like, I think, you know, I can't remember what song it was, but there's one, I think it's one from Wicked where it's got like a F3 in it, which is one that is like, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, that's a bit, and now I'm just like, how did I ever think I couldn't do that? Like, like I'm just like, yeah, that's fine now. And it's not, I've not.
And it's also like,
change anything I think medically.
When before I started testosterone, I could go like until like an E, like E3, I think. Then.
Yeah, I would say like F3, E3 is kind of
exactly. That's kind of like normal.
For an estrogen dominant voice,
I think even a week or 2 weeks in, I could already go to like a C if I really, really tried. And now I can do like a C easily, and I can go to an A or a G sharp if I really, really tried. But I feel like that wasn't, my voice didn't change that much from testosterone just in 2 weeks. It was just that I just started voice training, and that I was really, I was trying to go lower, and I was really focusing on my lower register more, where I'd never done that. I always, like, especially what you said as well, if you're a singer, people often are like, whoa, like the belting, like high notes like, are the ones that get people like, wow, amazing. If you're just doing like, oh, then people are not like, wow, you're such an amazing singer. And if you go like, then everyone's like, wow, amazing.
Exactly.
So I feel like you're always trying to lean into that like cool high notes. But when I started to find more songs with the lower notes and started to practice those more, now I can do songs in like original keys, where I have to sing like a B flat all the time, even though that was a note that I still don't even feel. I think A is like the lowest that I can go comfortably. So B flat is just like one higher than that. That's not really low or not really higher than that. But because I'm more comfortable with using that range, I can also go just above my lowest note. Whereas before I probably went like 3 steps higher just because I didn't want to touch that range at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also like don't discount the change in yourself of like starting testosterone, of just like almost like relaxing, of like feeling yourself, you know, like the amount of like people that I've seen that, you know, trans femme people, obviously that nothing changes with their voice, you know, when they start taking hormones. But I have seen time and time again so many trans femme people who, when they've started taking their you know hormones, their voice has changed, and they're like, and it's because, and I'm like, it's because you are more comfortable in yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
You are happier.
It's also just how you're being perceived, and how, especially like being more comfortable in yourself, but also just like, I know when people approach me on the street, or when I just say hi to someone, I would normally, before I would be like, hi. And now I go like, hi, hey, or I don't even say hey, I just nod to men. Like men don't nod, men don't say hey to each other. We just like nod. And stuff like that. I did like at the beginning, I was like, why are men like doing I wasn't really in the know of that. Also, old ladies started winking at me. That had never happened before. But also the way that women interact with me is different. I feel like even women go like a bit lower when they say like something to you, or I think it's more like they don't want to be too friendly because men suck. So whereas before, I feel like I have more social interactions now with men because they are like, hey, good morning. Like, what are you doing? Have a nice day. And women are more like, you male man, you can stay over there, and I'll just nod at you with like the hi, and not they don't actually interact that much.
No, totally. And I think like all of these things play into, you know, like the voice is not an isolated thing, you know, all of these things play into it. And like there's so many things of like the subconscious stuff that's in there from childhood, and then there's like the social things, and then how you're perceived and stuff. So like I'm intrigued, but like for myself, because so you mentioned you're like 5'9", so I'm 4'11".
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
So like I'm fast.
So what's that in meters for the Europeans?
Oh gosh,
I'm 176. Do you know what 4'11" is?
I'll have to look it up. 4'11".
I'm 1 meters and 76 centimeters tall. And I'm very lucky because my brother is actually like 2 feet. So like, no, 2 meters, 6 feet. So I was just very lucky to be born as very tall in a very tall family. I think my mom is like 180. So I'm actually the shortest in my family. But that's just really lucky that
I'm one of the tallest in my family. And in meters, apparently it's 1.49.
Okay, yeah, just below 150. Yeah, so, that's pretty short.
So like obviously the way I'm perceived, like how it's like is interesting, and I'm interested what might happen when I start teeing myself as well. But like I think there is so much wrapped up in like, you know, I mean, I'm, you know, currently, just about to start trying to fundraise for top surgery. And I'm like, I am almost certain that, you know, when I get that, stuff will change about my voice because I will feel so different in myself. So you know, we know that like what we wear influences how we feel and how we talk, and like I'll
and how other people interact with us, how we're seen in society. I feel like this is something that I often say. Like I'm a very confident person, even if I'm not confident. I'm really like a lot. Like I'm very And when I used to go to like a gig, I'd walk in and I'd be like, all right, I need this. Someone get me this, and like people would behind my back be like, what a bitch, like. Damn. And now they're like, wow, that's a confident guy. Yeah, that's nice. He really knows what he wants. So really you're being bossy or you're being a lot. That's so much more like I'm exactly that. My personality has not changed that much. Like, of course, my some things are a bit more masculine because I feel more confident in myself and more comfortable. But I feel like my personality hasn't changed. I'm still the same person. But the way that I'm being perceived and the way that people react to me in the world is very different.
Yeah, definitely. And it is. And like, even things like that, like like the being bossy or like the diva, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's such a
drama.
Diva. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, like that will can influence how you approach using your voice as well, you know. And then when you're getting more like affirmed of like, really like confident or like assertive, it's like you're going to be able to explore your voice more and allow yourself to explore that more as well. And
it's also like you're getting more used to, like, at the beginning I really had to like before I went in somewhere and I'd have to have a social interaction, I'd practice the way that I was going to be like, hi, can I get a pack of stamps? Something like that. I would practice beforehand because I knew that when I was going to walk in, I would be like, hi, could I maybe get like a pack of stamps from you? and
Yeah.
like now I can't even, it takes more
More effort
work
to
to
do
go
that.
that high because I'm not used to that anymore.
Yeah.
I only do it with kids, because with kids it's of course you're going to go a bit higher. But with just regular interactions, I don't go higher customer service voice right away. But yeah, before, even if my voice had already changed a bit, I was so used to going higher that it really it was just a lot of work. And now I feel like it's easier, and also people expect it more, I felt like I was also being very kind of not nice in a way. Like it felt like I'd have to be like, oh, could I maybe get this and this and this? Because otherwise people would be like, damn, that's rude that you're just like, be like, hi, could I maybe get some Sam's? That feels rude. But now it doesn't feel rude anymore, because it feels normal in the way that I'm perceived. I'm being perceived as masculine, and masculine people don't go, hi. So then it's more normal. But when I was perceived more feminine, I felt like I was being kind of rude if I would talk lower.
Yeah, and I think like this again, like it's like this ties in completely with all of the, you know, the societal stuff, doesn't it? Because it's like, that's, you know, if you think that, you know, from the perspective of, you know, a trans mass person, it's like, you know, trying to like untrain that in our brains, right? But also like the fact that you know, that these things are seen as masculine and these things are seen as feminine, like, you know, that impacts trans femme people as well. Like
definitely,
it's you know, and like you were saying, like, you know, to start with, you would go in and kind of like instinctively to be like, oh, customer service voice. Like, you know, a lot of trans femme people will find that they can do voice training and stuff, but then it's like implementing it is like the hard thing as well.
Implementing is the hardest.
There's so much of that is, it's like, it's not on them, like, as well. Like it's just, there's so much about society, and it's like, you know, I mean, I know, you know, even if like, so I struggle with like phone calls and stuff. So like, you know, I'll write things, you know, even if I've like literally written myself a script, sometimes I'll just be like, like, and I, you know, even if I've literally written a script and I've practiced it, and it's like that, and I have like told myself like, I can do this is okay. Like sometimes something will still change, you know, because society is so like ingrained, you know, all of these things are so ingrained, and it takes time to unlearn those and allow
and
ourselves.
On top of all of that, there's also fucking dysphoria. Like sometimes I can go into an interaction and I'm like totally cool, and then someone's like, thanks ma'am, and I'm like, then everything just like shatters, right? If you think you're being perceived one way and then it turns out that you're not, then that can also really change how you're feeling about yourself, how you're feeling about your voice. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had one other exercise I thought maybe to give you to have a go with. So with for kind of like the lower range as well. So it's the other kind of register almost, is like, so we've talked about, you know, modal, falsetto, whistle. There's vocal fry, which is kind of like at the bottom. So this is actually a really great cool down for the voice. And there's two ways of like doing it. There's like a forced way, and there's like a relaxed way. So if you just give me a little bit of cool. So that one that feels like maybe like a little bit like maybe a little bit pushed. See if this works. So the way I kind of think about it is like, so if you do a sigh, then the sound disappears and the breath carries on, right? And if we reverse it, let the breath disappear and the sound carry on.
That does not feel forced at all.
Does that feel different?
I think I've also did that once where you can like, what's that called? Where you can go, it's like subharmonics.
Oh yes,
you know
subharmonics. I've played around with it. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
they're very weird, but very.
It's kind of the same thing, right? Where you're like in your vocal fry, you kind of add. So
subharmonics is basically and again, it's been a while since I looked at them, but like it's you're singing a note, and then you're also frying like the octave below.
Exactly.
I have that was,
like that.
like I have done a bunch of practice on it, and there have been many times where, and this shows my age, where I've sounded like dial up,
Yeah.
dial up internet, just like I'm just like, whoa, what happened there?
Yeah.
But like,
it's easier for me because I tried that as well before testosterone, and I couldn't really do. I could do it maybe a bit, but now I've tried it a couple times where I record myself doing it, because when you do it, you can't really. You still feel like you're singing the higher notes, but then when you record yourself, you're like, "Damn, it really sounds like I'm going extremely low, even though I'm not. Like I'm still in my normal range."
Yeah, it's a very weird sensation. Like, but this is so. Vocal fry is basically low airflow, low pitch, and the vocal folds are moving kind of intermittently. But it's kind of like a massage for the vocal folds, basically. So and again, you may have worked out, I have many theories. So I have a sort of theory about this. So vocal fry, we are not stretching, we are not tilting anything. We're just straight like this.
Yeah.
With my theory of like people who are raised as being perceived as women, generally like pitch up their voice just straight away. I think that essentially there's a slight tilt just always.
Yeah.
So vocal fry requires this to happen.
Yeah.
Which means it requires making the vocal folds shorter.
Yeah.
And therefore that's the lower pitches as well, that like who are raised as girls are like, don't feminine. Go to and I'm nearly, I don't know, I'm coming up to a year out of autistic burnout, and I'm hoping I might be able to actually implement this myself, to actually like test it out. But like, I have a theory of, if you do some vocal fry every day, I think it could actually help lower the voice. But yeah, so literally just doing like a couple of minutes on just.
And do you have to do it then? Is it vocal fry just or is it vocal fry with the notes? Are you doing
so like a bit of both? So my thing, sort of kind of like the gear change thing again, right? Like crossover. So like it has been so long since I've done this, so let's see what happens. So
you're trying to go high, so you start low.
Yeah.
And then it's gone.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's like going into solid sound there. So like that, your solid sound came in like around the C3.
And that feels really good. Yeah.
And it's nice, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's like literally like a massage for the vocal folds. So yeah, like just kind of like playing with that crossover, and then kind of like, you know, you can come back down and up and down. It's also like a good, like if you've been doing a lot of stuff with your voice, if you're feeling like, you know, like that, like you're like, oh, maybe pushed it a little bit too much, like that one is it's like a good cool down. So like I've done it before where I've been like really like exploring like way higher belting than like my going, and like really going for it, and I'll feel like, yeah, I can feel that stretch. So, and then what I'll notice is if I try vocal fry, it will be like I won't quite be able to get it to start with, and actually I have vocal fry like habitually in my voice anyway, so like, to not be able to get it, it's like, okay, yeah, you have stretched. So I'll just kind of like,
do I have vocal fry when I just talk like this? Is there vocal fry on my voice?
Just talk a little bit more.
Hello. If I just use my regular voice, I feel like I don't really know if I don't feel like a distinction between just like my voice resonating in my chest or actually having vocal fry.
So I don't think you've got vocal fry coming in very much to your like talking voice. And like, again, let me show you the on here again. Because there is a very particular like I know how to do this. There it is.
Yeah.
Flip. So that's what vocal fry kind of looks like. And that's what your speaking voice is looking like.
So the black is the vocal fry.
So the
What's
black
it called?
line is basically the pitch throughout, but like
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
here, this bit at the end,
Yeah,
this is vocal fry.
that's vocal
If
fry.
I go back a bit, like here, there's the bit that you did the vocal fry going up into solid sound,
Yeah.
so you can kind of see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
So
goes really low in like
yeah.
in stuff that's probably subharmonics then because I can't go that low in notes, I think.
So that was just the vocal fry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then like so then there's the like, and you can see up here. You scroll out a little bit. Where's the one? So can you see how on this one? Actually, no, I think it was a bit further back. Here we go. So this one was the one that was like a little bit like tighter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then like a little bit looser.
That was more
And
relaxed.
you
Yeah.
can see a difference in the in the harmonics and stuff that we've got there, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think in your speaking voice, so in your speaking voice, we're not getting much fry. Hang on, if I do this and I change I have too many screens. This to this. So if
You've got so many screens.
So this is gonna now record me. So as I'm
Okay.
talking, like and because I've been talking a while, I don't actually have as much fry in my voice. But like, okay, let me just try and like, okay, so if I was just kind of like talking normally, like, can you sort of see how like some of the bits coming in are like, they look a bit different?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's vocal fry in
Yeah.
voice speaking, right?
That's also like kind of like Valley Girl. If
Yes.
you're,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly. Yeah. And
that's also
vocal
a vocal
fry. Yeah. Vocal fry like is absolutely something that has been like talked about a lot, you know, in the past like 10 years or so. And yeah, it is. It's heard in Valley Girl stuff a lot. And but also a lot of it is coming into a lot of feminine voice as well. And I think it's really interesting because I think it definitely coincides with kind of this thing of like don't raise your pitch to make other people comfortable and stuff, which is really interesting. But yeah, it's just a low airflow, but it's a good cool down. It's like a good massage, and like yeah, I think it could help with lower pitches as well. So
yeah. Wait, that was forced, I think. The last one. Yeah, especially if there's like less of a pitch and it goes more into those subharmonics, that feels really good for like chords.
It's also the other thing with vocal fry is it is really quiet. Like I find often when people are doing it, it's like tempting.
You're trying to
make it sound.
You're like
yeah. And actually, it's like let it be kind of almost like internal. It's like it's very very like quiet into yourself.
Yeah. And it's also interesting because if you change kind of like your resonance, that also changes a lot. Like if you try to do more like, you kind of open your throat more, also feels different. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, and there's like loads of things that you can play around with like that. But like it's, I just thought like it's the other end of the whistle kind of thing. And it's because of how the voice works, you know, it all kind of like helps other things, you know, because there's so many different muscles and things involved, and it's about the coordination and like with so also with vocal fry being low airflow, low pitch, so that means in some ways vocal fry breath is more similar to falsetto breath because
I get that because modal has more you go
so when we're going into falsetto the resistance is less right so like I'm interested because we were exploring the falsetto and like you're finding going to the falsetto like tricky at the moment. Like, can you just do fry and then jump the pitch up but keep the breath the same?
Okay, so fry and then go to falsetto, kind of like in pitch. Yeah. I think that's easier than when I do then I feel like there's too much air in my falsetto maybe, and I feel like if I do like the if I go to like that, ooh, I can only do it on an ooh sound. If I do like, hey, then there's already too much.
Yeah. So that comes back to the seesaw, where if you're on an you're in a you've got a very low back pressure.
Yeah. If I do
so
like,
actually it's easy to just push more air out.
Exactly.
And actually you want to control it, because
you want to do like,
if you just go,
so there's more,
you're going to throw, But the other thing that was interesting there that I noticed, when you did from modal to falsetto, you pushed your head forward.
Okay, let me try to do it.
That when you did it from Friday.
That's also easier.
Yes. So
I feel like I also really do that thing that you shouldn't do, where I go like, if I want to talk really low, I do this, and if I want to go really high, I do this. And that a lot of people have told me, like, you need to go like, have the same, keep everything the same. Yeah.
Because if you sort of think like when you push your head forward, it's like things here are moving, and so you're sort of changing that shape, and so that makes it harder. Tip.
So then I would maybe pick a note like this is a pitch that I'm like comfortable at. This is a comfortable pitch. So then I would pick this pitch and then do the stuff that I'm doing with my throat, and then try to keep that the same, and then do that is easier.
Another thing that you can do for this is if you stand against a wall with the top of your back and the back of your head against it, and
so that you can't move.
So, and it's like, you don't want to be like tensing up, but like, it's just to kind of like observe, because if your head moves, you will feel it come away from the wall or move up the wall. So some people come forward, some people go up, some, right? Like,
if you like, if
or
you
like
have
laying
like
on the floor as well.
Well, now I'm a bit like further. Like that.
But letting it be internal. But also, I mean, also like, so like if I just talk, and if I just keep talking and I just don't change anything except my head position, and then you can hear that stuff is changing as I do this, and then if I go up and I keep talking and I don't change anything else apart from my head position, you can hear that stuff is changing again. So it has an impact. But like, there is particularly with the belting as well, going up higher, so there is a point where a slight lift is helpful. So like if I'm right, whereas if I go
exactly, but then I feel like I'm not, because when I belt, I really had to learn that I'm not like doing
it's not doing, this, it's
I have to keep my head back, but it's just instead of
it's that, not that.
Exactly. Yeah. You put your chin up a tiny bit, but you don't go further out. Yeah,
exactly. And it's not like, and you know, it's kind of like finding that optimal again. You know, it's like it's not like here, because that's too much. It's finding that and it's kind of,
it's really important that you like, I feel like that it's intentional as well, because I feel like when I'm just trying to sing, trying to find like pitches, and I'm not being intentional with how I'm just like, I want to find the pitch, and I'll do whatever I need to get it. Then I'll go like, and do like really weird stuff with my,
And like, you know, to some degree like that, you know, that you can do things like that, but it's, I think it's the difference between like doing it sort of emotionally or, you know, performance-y, and doing it because your brain is telling you that's how to get the pitch. Story that I always like to tell is when I was younger, I used to raise my eyebrows when I was learning to sing. My singing teacher literally got me to hold my eyebrows down one time, right?
You were like,
okay. So I was like, and then she's like, okay, now do it without the eyebrows. And I went, and I literally was like, why can't I go? I was like, I can't go higher though. And she was like, yeah, you need to work on that. Like, because I had like subconsciously connected this.
I feel like I have that a bit with like mic technique.
Yes.
Like, if I belt and I do like that.
Yeah.
Because when you sing into the mic, you don't want it to be like, You want to be like, hey,
yeah,
hey!
and like, do you know, I do that. I do that myself. I even just kind of move away from the microphone slightly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another one that a lot. So yeah, a lot of people have that with the head. Also, some people have it going up onto their toes. I've had that before. Like
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also had it
physical...
with the weight of my guitar, because I used to only, like, not anymore. I make like electronic music now, but when I was like 18, I used to do like 4 shows a week with just me and my guitar, and I was so used to like the weight of my guitar and like also the safety of the guitar. That's in front of, like, between you and the audience is the guitar and the mic stand. And then when I had to, like, for school, had to do stuff where I didn't have the guitar, so I didn't have that pressure. And I didn't have the mic stand as an extra limit between me and the audience. It was a lot harder for me to hit certain notes because I just didn't have the extra added pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the weight of something as well, particularly like one side, like
definitely
there's a big change there, and like where your hands are, like that makes a big difference. I've had that with students who so when I was doing vintage stuff, like I had a mic on the stand. It was on a stand.
Exactly.
Stand, right. So like I never held the microphone, and because I did that for so many years, like when I then occasionally did, it felt really weird because I was just like, I don't do this,
I have that with I have an SM7. So like if you look at like the podcast bros who are like crypto, they also have like the SM7. That's the mic that I use, and that is really heavy if you hold that in your hand. So if I do like gigs now, I have my little MIDI keyboard and I have my very heavy mic, but that also feels, it's also a certain like security. And then if I just hold like an SM58, like a normal mic, it feels really light.
Yeah, it's just
exactly.
I once, there was, so like, this is classic ADHD, but I once managed to forget my mic stand for a gig. And like when like it's like one of the 50s, like, like, so I had to hold it.
No,
which is it's not designed to be held. Like that was so weird. And like, I mean, like I managed to forget my mic stand as well, which it's like, it's got a big heavy round base, like really, come on. But like, I had to hold
I've forgotten literally everything that you can forget, like your music stand, your
cables,
sheet music, mics,
is like,
exactly,
I forgot
cables every single
time,
thing, except my guitar, like, maybe.
I forgot cables, and I think at the time I was just like, well, do you know what? At least I didn't forget the mic.
Exactly.
Because that I have also done. Fortunately, it was a gig in a care home, so it wasn't so bad. But it was like, even so, I was just like, oh my gosh, I am so not used to like setting my levels without a microphone and stuff. Like, it was wild. But like, all of these things, like we they become parts, and like even like clothes and things. I say,
definitely.
If
I'm like wearing, I don't wear crop tops anymore, but when I did, if your midriff is exposed, you kind of hold your stomach in a bit more, I feel like, because you want to look hot. And then that also affects the way that you're speaking and the way that you're singing. So I really had to, before doing a show, I had to test out the outfit, if I could still do proper techniques with my singing without being like, oh, I need to,
I often say it's like step one often is like just getting over the self-consciousness of like, I have a belly.
Like, definitely.
So, but like it and like even like the shoe, because if you're wearing heels, little heels or even like boot heels or anything like that, like, or flat, or like I went through a phase when I was a teenager where I wouldn't sing unless I was in bare feet. Why would I not have gone through that phase? That. Like, but it changes Manic your balance, person. So all of those things, like, but particularly like heels, if the amount of times, it's like I've seen someone like they practicing and then they go gigging and they're like, oh, but why? And I'm like, okay, so you're gigging in like quite high heels. Have you practiced in those? No. Okay, you need to like rehearse in those.
And it's also like there's even now, like I've done like, I don't know, hundreds of shows, but still there's like a slight nerve I just know now that I can't use like the first 5 notes in a scale from starting from like my low register, like the first 5 notes, I can't hit those if I'm not relaxed. So if I'm feeling just tiny bit tense, if there's 200 people watching me, then I'm not gonna be able to get those, even though I can go a lot lower if I'm just by myself, or if it's an intimate thing, or if I'm feeling relaxed. So it's also just really knowing your voice and knowing your body. When are you able to hit those notes, and when is it? Yeah, you kind of need to adjust your keys and your sets to.
Key changes are beautiful. Like, let yourself change the key of something. Like, definitely. 100%. Like,
I'm changing like keys of the songs that we perform live. I'm changing the keys every few weeks because I can't. My voice is changing, so I'm just going. The keys change with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's a mix of making adjustments so that it works for you, and then also like when like practicing and what have you is like just still stretching those muscles, definitely. And just allowing yourself. And I think particularly going to those like gear change places and finding them and going over them both directions is important for just
just stretching your
voice keeps
still
growing.
Being able to use it. Definitely. I feel like the best tip that you gave is definitely keep using it. And also I feel like the societal thing and the pressure that you put on yourself, like that you're just scared that you're not going to hit the note anymore, that it's going to be embarrassing. I feel like that has helped me the most, that now instead of just not doing it anymore, I just do it by myself in the basement. And sometimes it's embarrassing, but it's just me or my partner or whatever. It doesn't
and
matter.
I think as well, like I think like have fun with your voice. Like I feel like it's so many people that they're putting so much pressure on themselves. And I think when you're when you sing professionally, it's like it's a bit different because you've got to that point of like right, but like
you already have like that security in your voice.
Which is why I think like was really interesting, and I think maybe is part of why you found that was just because you play with your voice anyway, and like so you're exploring it and you're not afraid to make a sound that you're like, I don't know what that's gonna sound like.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. But like I think there's so much pressure that society from a young age puts on us about our voices, both speaking and singing, and there's always this really big fear of for a lot of people of like, I don't know what sound is going to come out. I don't, and then if you throw gender into the mix as well and dysphoria, it's like, well, I don't want that sound to come out too masculine or too feminine or whatever. And I think like, well, who told, like, I know the answer. Society is the answer, but like, who told you that was a masculine
but also
sound?
It's not,
who told you that
was
was
a
not
even
sound?
Society. Like, I feel like with my I make like hyperpop, and hyperpop is like trans femme coded basically. All good hyperpop artists are trans women, and that means that or cis women, but all of the vocals are like pretty high and pitched up. So the entire like sound of hyperpop and the way that I used to edit my vocals is like pretty high and squeaky. And now my vocals are like changing, and also dysphoria wise, I don't want to like pitch up my voice, but that is what sounds best with the style of music. So I feel like that's also something that I'm sometimes struggling with if I'm making new music, where I'm like, oh, this is what feels good in my register now. This is what sounds most like me. But does it fit the vibe of the song? Does it fit like the bubblegum pop sound that I have created over the years?
But I think you can find again, it's finding your own, because like if you think about genres as well, like there, we have broad genres, but like there are like, if you really dig into it, it's like every single artist is their own genre, really, like their own little subgenre. So like who is to say that you can't make
exactly, and that's what I'm doing now. Like I'm
subharmonic stuff. Like
I'm trying to like implement the sound of my voice now and what makes me feel good about my voice in the new music. And also, I feel like it can also be gender affirming if I sing it lower and then I pitch it up. it still doesn't sound like a girl
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time, because it's
Yeah.
definitely like a squeaky robotic kind of voice instead of like how I used to sound. So it's also interesting, like even if I sing something and I try to change like the formant or like the pitch to make it higher where it used to be, it still doesn't sound the same because
Yeah.
my voice just
Yeah.
has a lot more richness to it now.
Yes, absolutely.
So that could also be gender affirming.
Have you noticed a change in your jaw shape as well? Because this is something that I'm fascinated in as well, because I feel like, because it doesn't really get talked about in it with T changes, it's mostly just the vocal folds, but like we see physical changes in the shapes, so that means that your resonance is changing. Yeah. Like just in the mouth itself as well, in the jaw itself.
But
like,
I don't know if it's because I don't think like I said, if you start testosterone at like 12, then your bones still change. Yeah. But my bones that's
kind of thing. I don't know how much.
Yeah, because we see my a change, but changed a lot. Like my jaw has changed, but I think that's more that the fat redistribution. Like I used to have like more like cheeks, and now I have like more this. I didn't have used to have this, and my brother also has like that shape in his jaw more. So I feel like that's more the jaw stays the same, but the fat in my face kind of went away.
But see, I'm interested because like, okay, so I have dimples, right? Okay. Yeah. So like the amount, like genuinely the inside of my cheeks are probably scarred so badly because I just wipe the inside of my cheeks so much. But like, you know, if I think about fat redistribution, like there is fat, you know, is that gonna, there's potentially gonna make more space in the cheeks.
That's true, because then it does make your cheeks thinner in a sense, like this, like that shape here, I didn't used to have that at all, and that I think but I don't know if that's on the outside or on the inside.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is that going to change the resonance then?
Yeah, I say like, and I feel it's one of those things that it's like it's not, there's not much been looked into it, and like I don't know the answer, you know. But it's again, it's just one of those things that's sort of in my head.
If it were to change, it's such a small change that I think a lot of the small changes that are happening are nothing compared to the strength of my vocal cords that I've trained over the years. So even if there's like a small change in resonance, that's nothing compared to what I can like micro correct with my training.
No, totally. Yeah. But those tone changes, you know, the like the sort of where when you listen and you're like, well, you know, maybe singing the same pitch, but like it sounds different, like some, like all of those, because ultimately like stuff with the voice is tiny, you know, it's like the size of your vocal folds are like the size of the half moon on your thumb. Like they are mini.
They like start out like that and then they end up like that. Like it's just a tiny
exactly. They're so tiny. And so, you know, and that is what's creating all of this sound. Like
exactly. So that's crazy that changes,
tiny
like
movement,
it's smaller than your fucking bottom growth, and that's what makes your entire voice and your appearance sound different.
Absolutely. So it's like that's, you know, the tiniest amount of changes, you know, is makes a difference of, you know, between that pitch and that pitch. So of course tiny changes, you know, in even if it is just a little bit
your
of
face.
Definitely is going to potentially have an impact as well. In my opinion. But no, absolutely. I feel like my brain had something I was gonna go to, but then it's gone. That's fine. That's what my brain does.
Did you have any more that you wanted to?
I
think I had a few questions, but I already asked them.
Yep. I was gonna say, is there anything that you wanted to like have a little like explore of or look at particularly?
I think if we do like a little recap, we have like what you said, the practicing with the whistle notes is also going to help with my lower register.
I believe that it could, definitely. Because I think it's going back to the like sort of like the bodybuilder ballet type thing, you know, it's like you're building the muscle and you're doing the stretching, like and sort of almost being able to take the muscle away, like the vocal fold muscle away to do the stretching. It's like, okay, that's what it feels like, and now bring the weight back in. That, like I said, is my theory that sort of I don't know the right word is, not colloquially, but like I have seen with various people, but like not done like full, in-depth research or anything on it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and the vocal fry is a very interesting exercise. The keeping the head in the
the
same
head
position. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I think that
Cool.
definitely, and I think also going over the gear change with like the straws. I definitely think like if you find a thinner straw, as well, that would be interesting, for the falsetto to whistle gear change.
Yeah.
See what's happening there, and I think like ultimately what I think would be interesting and like potentially useful for you just in general is literally going from vocal fry all the way up through modal, through falsetto into whistle,
Just
and
the
coming back down
entire.
again.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
what can you do there? Like how where does the jumps happen and stuff? And you'll probably find that the jumps and the changes will happen in different places, going up versus coming down, because it's like where you're already set up. Like if I go up,
Yeah.
my downwards gear change is more obvious.
That sounded good, like the little flip there.
Yeah,
that was nice.
yeah. So like my downwards gear change is more obvious. So in order to smooth that out, I have to take slower and do more more control over it.
Yeah, more control.
So and like but like the fry into modal, like you kind of had that there, and then modal into falsetto, and then see falsetto into whistle, and then coming back down as well. Like just like there's so many different like adjustments that you have to make as you're going.
Yeah.
And like if you're doing them with a straw, through a straw, I feel like the straw that you've got into water, that was really like, I'd say maybe go for that for the moment, because you were able to do that quite easily for the falsetto into whistle stuff as well. So that would be interesting to then like how that translates into for the modal as well, and potentially fry. But it's kind of like finding that balance, and then when you sort of are going from like that, which is a high back pressure, to a low back pressure, which is like an open mouth. It's thinking about like it's not like it's not a binary of like more or less. It's like there's different control, which is why my seesaw thing, because it's like, well, it's not that you put more effort in when the person is smaller.
You can get like the two ends with the straw or the open mouth, but you can kind of play in between there to see what works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I say this seesaw theory, I have actually, I'll hopefully be releasing at some point in the nearish future some like information about it. I've kind of like mapped out where like the different shapes are. So you kind of like R is like your lowest back pressure, and then like E is like your highest vowel back pressure. And then you've got nasal sounds, these, and then these ones are like high back pressure as well. And then lip rolls. Lip rolls are really interesting because they are like semi-occluded, but because you're also trying to make the lips move, it's like,
you're kind of doing two things at once.
And I often find for a lot of people, when they first do lip rolls, they often go straight to falsetto because it's like release, so they release in here as well. So sometimes it's like actually getting it in modal to start with.
And it's more difficult because you can't do a lot of air. You can't use a lot of air, because then you're gonna
and it's getting that coordination to get the and then when you get to that gear change, like, okay, how are you navigating that?
Interesting. So just find different back pressures and then see how that flip works. See if you can put the flip in like different spaces so you can like control more where you place that in your throat.
Absolutely. And like pitch wise, I would say like the modal falsetto gear change can happen anywhere between like I've heard it happen like the G3 before, sort of thing, maybe even lower for some voices. The sort of the standard for like most voices, I mean like estrogen or testosterone dominant, is like somewhere around between the E4 to the B4.
Yeah.
Estrogen dominant voices are more likely to take the modal up a little bit higher
Yeah.
instinctively. I also think there is an age thing here, of people who, so I'm 34, and I feel like people who are like probably about your age and younger,
Yeah.
you've grown up listening to more belty stuff,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah.
When I was young, like, you know, like bit of a crossover with my like childhood, but like I grew up with kind of people doing a little bit more, you know, using falsetto and stuff. So I find people that are like my age and older tend to kind
They
of
go into falsetto
gear change
earlier.
earlier. Yeah.
Definitely.
And younger will kind of be taking that modal up higher. And I think that is partly influenced by just the music that
what you listen to and what you listen to. With.
Yeah. So yeah, like you can kind of play around with the gear change, kind of like play like and then this is one of my favorite ones is
okay, let's see if I can do that. Wait, I think I need to do it lower.
Yeah. Nice.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of like vocal, like you're doing
a flip.
Like yodeling, but at the same notes.
On the same pitch, yeah.
That's cool.
And interesting, there was a couple that when you went into the modal, we did have the little head bob again on a couple.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, again, kind of like doing that with the, you know, the head, like trying to keep it
let's see if I can do it with my head still. Wait, what note did I do?
You did an E.
A bit higher, maybe. I feel like every time I switch to falsetto, I go like,
yeah. And there is like, when you do this on one note, there is like a little kind of like, it's almost like like this kind of in between each, right? Because if you think it's like, where's my little hairband's gone? I don't know. Oh, there they are. It's like, you know, so if you're in modal, you're going, like you're literally like dropping.
And then right? Like, there's like less pressure.
Yeah. And so that's why often like, but being able to do that, you're dropping the muscle out, and you're also changing this, you know, like there's a lot of coordination in order to stay on the same note, changing between modal and falsetto. Because the instinct, because you've got to get that movement as well, otherwise is gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, like that again, just things like that. It's like have fun with your voice, play with it, and like explore it. Like I think there's so much like shame and fear around doing something wrong in society. But also like I also see a lot of people like worried they're gonna like hurt their voice and stuff. And it's like, yes, we already said how tiny the vocal folds are, but also they're bloody resilient. Like they're amazing. Like the voice is amazing, you know, and like like, you know, yes, it is possible to, you know, damage your voice kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's more like if you systematically keep doing it wrong. I was going to
say, like, there's like, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot, you know, to do it. And like, this is why I say, like, if it hurts, stop. But like, also don't just stop. Like, if it hurts, doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that maybe the setup that you were doing, you know, maybe you pushed your head forward and that made it harder. You know, and then that particular pitch that you're at or whatever was just like, no, not doing it just here.
Fuck around with placements, fuck around with like falsetto versus like modal. Yeah.
And like breath as well, and like the back pressure as well. You know, like even changing the shape. So, you know, if you're kind of like, and you're not getting on that, try E, see what happens. Because, you know, and vice versa, and trying different shapes, because that changes the back pressure. So they'll we all have kind of like an optimal shape that is like our go-to shape.
The easiest,
for, like, the back pressure is like the easiest kind of thing. And that can be different in different ranges as well. But yeah, because I think like you were saying, I can't remember, was it the high ones you were doing like an ooh, and you were finding like that was the easiest thing?
Yeah, if I do like ooh, then I have back pressure for the falsetto. But if I do like then if I do like an A sound, then I can do like more, I can go higher in my modal.
Yeah. So then like, and so that, knowing those things and figuring out these things and it being like, okay, I know that I can, this is easier and this is harder. And then kind of moving from one to the other. So, so it's like, okay, ooh, okay. And then like, ooh, find like what has to change to keep the same. Because if I don't change anything other than the mouth shape, there is a difference happening, right? So in order to keep the sound the same, there's other stuff I'm having to adjust. So it's like you can kind of move from the one that is easier to the one that is harder, and kind of like find where's the point where it's like, okay, that's
it's kind of also like when what a lot of singers do, I also do that, when you have like a word that doesn't really work in a certain vowel, you kind of just, instead of saying love, you would say love, so that it's easier to get that note. Yeah,
absolutely. And like so much of like with singing, I say as well, a lot of the time it's like not articulating clearly.
Exactly.
Which is weird because it's like you can hear it clearly, but like the amount of times I'm like, okay, like just take that D off, take that N off, like just ignore that T. Okay, now sing it. Cool. Now that sounds exactly like the right thing. Like it a lot of it is like often, and I think this is something that comes in for certainly for trans femme people, but probably also trans mass people, is like over enunciating.
Yeah.
Particularly if you've like worked on your speaking voice.
Mm.
And like you then, if you're singing like, what was the one you did earlier? Like, you could kiss 100, but you could kiss 100 boys in. Like, there's way too much effort going on there. Like, you do not need that much.
Yeah,
you could
but
kiss
I feel like that's
boys in bars.
when I was doing the whistle notes. When I was like, like then I did like I extremely, like the enunciation was like extremely
right at the front,
so that because you lose so much of you can't really actually sing in the whistle notes, right? You can't really do like the vowels. So then you have to compensate with doing the pronunciation really well. Yeah.
I always say like my kind of thing with sort of like, articulation and stuff is like, if we had to move our mouths a lot in order to be understood, then ventriloquism wouldn't be a thing.
No, exactly.
It would not exist. So the fact that ventriloquists are magic. I just
definitely.
Like I'm not denying that, because like what the hell? But like I have tried. Like but like the fact that is possible, like it is. We don't need to move our mouth as much.
No.
And actually when we're singing, like sometimes it can actually get in the way, and it can actually make it harder to like hit a certain pitch or get the vocal folds set up that we want.
Yeah.
Because the back pressure, if we've gone ba, like your back pressure is then pushing down, and then you change what you're doing with your vocal folds. All of that changes as well.
I feel like that's also really funny because like I'm Dutch, so my native language is Dutch. And I feel like if I try to sing in Dutch, I feel like I automatically kind of like I'm really particular on the pronunciation then. But in English, that's not that much. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's because of the English music that I've always listened to. I'm just really good at like emulating that sound. But with the Dutch music, it's really, when I was a kid, I was listening to like kinderen voor kinderen, kinderen voor kinderen. And they were like really pronouncing everything. Like kids music, they of course try to like overly enunciate. So I feel like that's also really siphoned into my singing voice now. I never sing in Dutch, but if I would, then
and I think like different really languages as well, for sure, like have I mean different languages have different resonances, overall. Like I have like surprisingly enough, working with a lot of trans femme people, I have looked at Japanese more than once. Japanese sounds and like Japanese, the shape of the words are brighter. And also the pitch that they speak at is higher than.
I feel like English is also a higher pitch than Dutch. Dutch
Yeah,
is
and
lower
yeah,
pitched,
there's
I
like
feel like. Yeah.
different, and like different
Right.
languages,
More open.
have
Yeah.
different, having different shapes and things. And also like the sort of some languages, a very, very slight adjustment in the pronunciation changes the meaning.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
in some it doesn't,
Yeah.
so, and even like rhythm, like of the words, like if you're sort of saying like 100,
Yeah.
or like 100, like
Yeah.
it's still the same thing, but in some
Yeah.
languages that would change the meaning.
Yeah. And
Like
also it kind of changes the meaning, like where you
it
put
can
like
change the
what's the word, like
like the emphasis.
klemtoon. If you say like, I am really interested in
Yes.
you, or
Yeah.
I am really interested in you,
Yeah.
like
So
it also
where you're
where you
putting the
stress.
emphasis,
Yeah.
like that. So like you can change the overall meaning of like a phrase or what have you, like that. But yeah, sometimes like there's some songs where like a word is like just laid out in a slightly odd way, and it's like that can just
Yeah.
throw you off as well.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
like
With
anything like that.
songwriting, that's also
Yeah.
really, I also teach like songwriting, and I often say like, if you're singing something, you'd kind of mimic the way that you would speak it.
Yeah.
Because if you sing it in a way that you wouldn't speak it, unless you're doing like really weird
Yeah.
stuff, but if you're just using like normal, then if you sing it in and you put like the stress in, or you put like the high note on a really weird word, then it just doesn't work. So you kind of have to say your lyrics like it would be a poem, or you would just read it out loud, and then be like, okay, where's the stress in the sentence? Yeah.
Well, I personally like really love, I mean, this is obviously the queer in me, but I really love like just purposefully doing things like my songwriting and stuff that's just like, yep. And like it gets me every single time. Yes, I know I wrote this, but like I forgot how I did that. Why did I write it like that? But also that's fun. Like that's kind of cool, Like, and I think it's
but then
like,
you do it intentionally. And
yeah,
that's
exactly.
The difference.
Yeah.
Like you really have to be intentional when you're writing. Like, are you writing something and you want to kind of you kind of want people to be like, wait, what did they mean?
Yeah.
Or do you want to convey a certain message, and you want people to listen to your lyrics, but then they're actually listening like, wait, what's happening? Like, do you want people to focus on what you're actually saying? Do you want people to focus on the music in the background, like the chords, whatever? Yeah. So you really have to be intentional. Yes. When are you creating stress? When are you creating like a distance between like what you mean and what is being heard?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many songs out there that, like we have that people have like misheard the lyrics of, that we know of. Like I can't remember what it was now, but there was one the other day I was doing with a student, and both of us were like, it was like the first time we'd read the lyrics, and we were like, that is not what I thought it said. That is no, my entire life I have thought those lyrics were something different. Like,
and imagine if it's not your first language. Like I have so many songs that I only heard when I was like growing up, and I only know phonetically because I know the lyrics, but then while I'm singing them, I'm like, oh wait, that's what they're saying. Because when I was a kid, I could sing along because phonetically, but I didn't actually speak the language yet.
You're just making the sound.
And that
funny. In itself is interesting because it's like, it's almost like a lot of the time I find, when I'm teaching, it's almost like taking people back to just singing it phonetically. Like, just, what does it sound like?
Take away the meaning. Yeah.
Remove the meaning. And like, yes, you want to get the meaning in there for the performance and stuff, but like sometimes like that can really like throw you off. Like I did a video a little while ago actually, like quite recently, about like the spelling of words. So like and I felt like this was like particularly like autistic thing of like wanting to like give all the information. So like the word no, N-O, or K-N-O-W, and like that, if you're singing that word, it should sound the same. But for some reason, if it's spelled K-N-O-W, it's harder.
Yeah.
Because you're like, like, but I found like, for myself and for like a lot of autistic people I've worked with, like it can be harder because it's like your brain is like, oh, I must communicate. So it's like
convey the message
literally correctly. Like writing it out just writing it out as N-O rather than K-N-O.
Yeah.
Just, now we can do it.
Yeah.
Like, and which is wild, but like, just going back to that, like, how does it actually sound? And like the word I, for example, is actually I. There's an R and an
two.
like, so sort of all things like that as well. All of these things can kind of like trip us up with what, like, although they're not like directly like impacting, you know, it's like we change that, it changes the back pressure, we're thinking about something else, and then like, oh, we've flipped off into falsetto when we want to or something, you know. So yeah, and obviously as the voice is growing, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have times where it's gonna be like, okay, that just, you know, and like also like, you know, most people like do have that anyway, you know. And I think that's the thing as well, like it does happen, you know, when we hear people singing, we hear polished versions. I think now with TikTok and things like that a bit more, we do hear like less polished a bit more, but even so, it's still what we don't see people learning, you know.
No, you just hear like the auto-tuned layered voice in the track,
recorded and like all sort of set up, you know, and stuff. So it's like, you know, I'm a professional singer. I teach singing like almost every day and stuff. And like, absolutely, I'll be singing along to something sometimes, and I was like, "What the hell was that? Thanks for it." Like my voice will just go, "No, I'm gonna do something." Like it's
human.
The changeable beast. Like and it's like, that's okay, that's normal. It's okay if you slip off something, or like, you know, you don't get it right, because also what is right. I opt to take the stance that I did it and therefore it was correct.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what it was.
I always say, but that's more guitar related. But you know, if you make a mistake and you're playing like a solo and you make a mistake, you just do it again, and then it's jazz. If you just make the same mistake twice, then it's intentional, and then you're just playing a skill that nobody's heard yet, because it's like super jazzy. And they are just not as far musically as you are.
They're just not
right?
as absolutely.
They just don't get you right.
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel like, you know, with singing, like, you know, yes, there are some things that like you might, like you were saying, you know, you're adjusting the key of things to go, absolutely go with that, you know. But also like as a singer, like you have like a very particular power, you know, like you're like I've said to more than one student is like, you're allowed to make the audience feel awkward.
Yeah.
You're the one in charge.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So like,
definitely.
Who are they to tell you did something wrong? Because you're the one on the stage, like you're the one performing, like, so just roll with it.
And also a lot of people don't, I feel like we're trained musicians, right? And we really hear if we're a tiny bit off pitch, we're like,
we can
that wasn't perfect. But like the other day I had like a performance, and we were in the wind, and we didn't have any monitor, so we couldn't really hear each other or ourselves. We could only hear like through the wind. So when we heard it back, I was like, ooh, that's, sometimes we were like a little, plus I can't really feel, normally I'm really steady, but now because of the changes on T, I'm not really certain. I don't feel like, okay, that's an A, where before I didn't even have to listen. I just knew what my voice felt like, how it sounded. So I was like, ooh, that was like a little bit off key. And then I told my girlfriend, and she was like, that sounds perfect to me.
But
it's like I'm so trained into like the little micro adjustments.
Most people do not hear those tiny little things at all.
Exactly.
And like when you're singing as well, like you have the feedback of the vibrations in the body as well, which when you're listening to a recording, you don't have that as well. So there's like differences there too. But like it's the same with like any art sort of thing, isn't it? You know, we are so critical of ourselves, and it's societal shit that has just like been fed into us, you know. And it's like, screw them. Like it's like, you know, it's like, it's your voice, it's your art, it's your whatever, you know, like who is anybody else to tell you that like you have painted that wrong, or if you know, you hit the wrong
at least
note
you're
there.
doing it.
I hit, that was the note I chose to hit. Like,
and if you're doing it, then you can learn from it, right? If you make a mistake, then at least you've made the mistake, so you can learn from it. There's like a bunch of people who are not even like, especially with like cringe, right? Like we're all so afraid, like with the alt-right rise, everyone's so afraid to be seen as like the blue-haired liberal, whatever. And we're also afraid of being cringy, that nobody's actually being themselves anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd 100% rather be cringy to some fucking Republican or whatever than I'm not being myself, right? And
definitely,
I feel like the people who are the cringiest, unless they're doing it like maybe on purpose as like rage bait, but even if I'm like, ooh, that's cringy, then still I'm like, but good for you. Good for you.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
I'm
it's like
that's embarrassing. I would be embarrassed, but good for you that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather be that than not do certain things because I'm afraid that I'm being perceived or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, absolutely. And I think like learning that thing that you said, like learning from it, like the amount of time, like I'll literally be like in the shower singing and I'll do something, I'll be like, that was interesting. And I'll be like, okay, what did I do there? Like, and I'm like, can I do that again? Can I do the thing I was actually trying to do? Okay, well, like you just learn from it. Like, you know, it's even if it didn't come out the way you intended it to, it's still progress. It's still something.
Yeah, and people often don't know that like people don't just wake up and are able to sing. Like, of course, there's a thing where you're like, I feel like a lot of people think it's you're talented or oh, you're just like, you have very good musical hearing. And of course that plays into it a bit. But the reason that I can sing is because ever since I was little, I was always singing. The reason that I can play guitar and piano and whatever I do is because I was obsessed with my guitar from like age 13 to 17. I was playing like 3-4 hours a day. And of course, that's because I really liked it and because it was easy to me in a way. But that's the same with voice. And people think that, oh, I can't sing, so I just shouldn't sing. When singing is just like a human thing. We're all supposed to sing. We're supposed to dance. And you don't have to be good. But you're definitely not going to be good if you don't do it because you're not training it at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you just do it a lot, you're going to be better.
Absolutely. It's also like I will nope, my brain is just hang on. Come on. La la la. Doing it you know it's all muscles and everything, right?
Muscle
so
memory.
Like it's like saying, oh, I can't sing, when you kind of like don't allow yourself to like make weird sounds or like do things that you don't know how they're going to come out. It's kind of like being like, oh, I can't dance, but you haven't actually stretched any of your muscles.
You haven't even moved your arms.
You haven't moved your body. Or like, you know, like, oh, I can't do the splits. Well, because you've not stretched those muscles. Like, or like
even if you're really going into like the muscle memory stuff, like if you've never ridden a bike before, you're not going to be able to do that. And once you've done that a bunch of times, then it becomes easier. So if you're never even trying, then you're also never going to be able to do it. And that's the same with singing. But for some reason, with singing or with drawing or like creative stuff, people are really like, wow, you're such a good singer. I wish I was that lucky. And I'm like, I studied for this. Like I put in the hours, but if you would have done the same thing, you would probably be better than me. So
And I think just literally like allowing yourself to make silly noises. I mean, I have a an ongoing series of like today's silly noise on TikTok, like because I vocal stim all the time, and like I've realized how much I do that now, like now that I am in a space where I can do that, and how much I did used to repress that. And like fortunately my girlfriend loves my vocal stimming, and she tells me that quite frequently. She's just like, I love hearing you vocal stim. So that's helpful too. But like, like even though I know I've always been known as like somebody who does a lot of random sounds and stuff, like even in like the last 5 years, I have noticed that pick up as I have felt more comfortable and allowed to do that. And just play with my voice. And I'll literally just be walking around the house just being like,
just making weird sounds.
Make weird sounds.
Yeah, we have like the it's very annoying because we also, I don't know if it's vocal stimming because we don't have autism, but it's more like we forget that we're actually making noise, but we go like
nice,
like the what's his name, Justin Timberlake song, but we kind of like they start and then I pick up and it's super, and we don't even know that we're doing it, right? But it's just making silly noises.
Absolutely. My girlfriend and I will bounce off each other for sure as well. But also like, I absolutely like, we were talking about this the other day actually. It was like, I would be a terrible spy because I literally hum and I don't realize I'm humming. And like we'll be out and she'll just be like, you're oh, am I? And then I'm like, okay, I'll stop. And then like literally like 3 seconds later, she's like,
you're doing it again.
You're doing it again. Like I just don't even realize that I'm doing it. I was like, yeah, I'd have to be like the distraction.
Yeah, but that's good that you're in a space where you're, because I feel like I really, all those silly noises and silly things, if you're in like a relationship or a space where you feel like you can't really be yourself or really be open in that way, you're kind of repressing more than that you actually know. Like I didn't know that I did. Yeah. But then when you're in a space where that's more normalized or more celebrated in a way, it's, I think that really helps. Helps too.
Yeah, definitely. Celebrate the weird noises and like celebrate like the weird quirks that your voice does without your permission as well. Like it's like your voice is whatever, you know. It's yours. Nobody else has got your voice, regardless of, you know, your gender, the gender people perceive you as, regardless of any of that. Like nobody has your exact voice. Like it is completely unique. And like there are things that your voice will be able to do that like other people may have like with like kind of what's led into all of this, you know, you doing the whistle notes. It's like there will be plenty of voices that can do that, you know, but it's like your voice did it because you played with it and you weren't afraid to share it, and you know, like all of these sort of things, like all of that came together for that to happen. So just allow yourself to play with your voice and trust it.
Kind of like not limit your creativity in that way. Like I like the one of the next songs that I'm gonna release, like I did in April, I wrote every day for a month, and I wrote a song that's kind of like an allegory for being trans, where I'm basically like, oh, they all want to kill us, but they don't know that I'm a mosquito, I'm a cockroach, like you can't get rid of me, you kill me and I will come back stronger. But that mosquito noise also kind of came from me suddenly being able to do whistle notes, where I was like, and also the playing around with the, you know, like I said before, I make hyperpop. So with hyperpop, you kind of want to pitch your voice up because that sounds really cool and kind of robotic and like bubbly. So when you pitch your voice up, kind of sounds insecty, mosquito, like alien. Totally. And when I wrote that song, I was also keeping in mind, like, what am I going to do with the vocal effects? And how is that? Yeah. So in that way, you tie your creativity to something weird that happens with my voice. Something like more, like trans related, like, it's very interesting. And if I didn't play around with my voice and, didn't figure out that I could do the whistle notes, I probably wouldn't have done that. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like we have like, it's nearly 3 hours. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we should stop. We're getting tired. But it's been very, very interesting. Yeah. I've learned a lot, and I hope other people
I hope it's been interesting for people that have tuned in. Absolutely. Yeah. And
I have a lot of stuff that I can practice with the vocal fry.
I'd be cool to, you know, I'd totally be, you know, if you want to do something like this again, we could do that. Any like particular questions people have got, like, you know, we could do that and have a
maybe play. I can make like a video where like I did a live and this is what we what we talked about, and then maybe people can like post comments if they have any questions for you, and we can do it live again. Or we can just like, now we kind of had the whistle notes as the main kind of thing that we talked about. But there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, right? Like maybe this was more about singing. We can talk about speaking voice more. Have like a trans mask, trans femme type of maybe absolutely have someone else on who's because I'm like the trans mask perspective, but I feel like a lot of people would also benefit from knowing how to feminize your voice.
Absolutely. Really cool. I mean, even like we could talk about like, you know, songwriting and creativity and stuff as well in general.
Definitely.
Sweet. Cool. Okay. Well, hope everyone has enjoyed it. I have.
Let's quit the live, and thank you so much.
Thank you
everyone for watching as well. We had a lot of people watching, so that was nice.
Nice. Okay. Amazing. Bye.
Bye.